Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. UCLA's 9-4 season was nearly so much better in 2022. A crazy upset loss to Arizona, a narrow loss to USC, and the heartbreaking final second loss to Pittsburgh in the Sun Bowl kind of made for a disappointing finish for the Bruins. But still, 9 wins was something that we didn't think we'd be talking about a few years ago under Chip Kelly. It feels like Chip Kelly has finally figured things out in Los Angeles. It feels they finally have turned the corner. But now that they will not have their star quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, how will the Bruins do in 2023? That's what we're here to look at today as we preview UCLA's schedule heading into this upcoming college football season. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad that you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks, including our website, thegridironexpert.com, because guys, here at the Gridiron Expert, let me tell you, football never dies. The college football season never, ever ends, and we want you to become a part of that. We want you to take advantage of the nonstop college football content and analysis and discussions. We want you to become a part of our GE Nation. You can do that by liking. You can do that by subscribing. You can do that by hitting that notification button so you don't miss out on any of our future content, including our official UCLA record prediction that will be coming out here in just a few months. So let's take a look at UCLA's schedule. Let's pull it up. Obviously, I will tell you guys, UCLA, yes, has a handful of questions heading into the season, right? It's going to be very difficult to replace such a star veteran quarterback like DTR. It's going to be hard to replace a handful of other starters on both sides of the ball. But I do believe Chip Kelly has figured things out. And I do believe this schedule lines up very nicely for UCLA. I believe this is a team that could contend for a Pac-12 title, and people aren't really talking about it. We're talking about Oregon. We're talking about USC, talking about Utah, the reigning Pac-12 champions. But I think people are forgetting about UCLA, who was in the mix for a Pac-12 title pretty late into last year. You take a look at the schedule again, I think there's a very good possibility that the Bruins start 3-0. And again, we're not here to predict any games today. That will come here in a few months. But Coastal Carolina, no slouch by any means, at San Diego State, and NC Central, I think are all very winnable games for the Bruins. And with the way that they've been playing, I think they should be able to get those wins. Now, we have seen Chip Kelly lose a few games to some Group of 5 opponents. We've seen them struggle at times against Group of 5 opponents, needing a last-second field goal last year to beat South Alabama. So you could see some growing pains early on. I would say that if there's a team they're most likely to lose to, probably would be San Diego State in Week 2. But I think UCLA can navigate that and then get into the bulk of Pac-12 play. They open up on the road at Utah. That is not an easy game at all. I always say that Salt Lake City is where dreams go to die, right? When you play the Utes on the road, it is a tough place to play. Not a guaranteed loss, but close to it. UCLA did get the win over the Utes last year at home, 42-32. That was a massive victory for the Bruins. Pretty much ruined Utah's slim shot of going to the Pac-12 to the college football playoff. So it was a huge win for UCLA, a statement victory for UCLA across the board. Now they have to go face Cam Rising at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Going to be a very, very difficult game. Again, I think Utah maybe has lost, one time at home in like the last 3 years. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous mark, not an easy place to play, and Utah's certainly going to have another stout defense and one of the best quarterbacks within the conference. They get an early bye week at the end of September, and if I'm UCLA, I don't like that because now I've got to play 8 straight games. I have to play 8 games in a row with no days off, no weeks of rest, and that part's frustrating. If you're a team, you really would love to have that bye week coming right at the halfway point after 6 games, maybe 7 games, because you want that week of rest kind of midway through the season so you can kind of get a little bit of rest and then finish strong. But you look at what comes after the 8 games, and I'll tell you this, I don't see a key stretch for UCLA. I don't see one stretch of 3 or 4 games I'm like, this is the stretch that will define the season. I think instead it's going to be just a handful of games that really define UCLA's season, but not necessarily consecutively. Obviously, the Utah game is big. Their games against the better Pac-12 teams, those are the big ones. The Utah game will be huge. And really, the USC game will be huge. In Oregon State. So I say Utah, Oregon State, USC are probably the 3 biggest games on their schedule, and all of them are on the road. So you come out of the bye week, you play Washington State. That's a very winnable game. They did not play the Cougars last year. They're a team that's improving under Jake Dickert, but off the bye week, I think people would feel pretty confident about that. At Oregon State, this is a 10-win team last year. that is looking to be even better in 2023, which is scary to think about. Stout defense, better quarterback play, possibly with DJ Uiagalelei. Jonathan Smith doing a fantastic job with the Beavers. And now it's in Corvallis, which has proven to not be an easy place to play under Jonathan Smith. So watch out for that game if you're UCLA. That is a very losable game to the Beavers, but very well could be a top 25, maybe top 15 showdown between the Bruins and the Beavers on October 14th. So that's going to be a fun one. On the road at Stanford and then Colorado, facing two teams that are dealing with two brand new coaches. UCLA won both of those games in blowout fashion. That's going to be a good break for the Bruins there. So, again, we're not predicting games here, but those are two teams that I think are going to go through some growing pains this season. And if UCLA loses the game to Oregon State, that's an opportunity to rebound possibly against Stanford and Colorado. Kind of get back on track, build up their confidence again as they head into that final month of the season. Final month of the season could be the key stretch if you want to, but really I don't see too many tough games with the exception of USC being the toughest one. Arizona possibly as well, because the Wildcats did upset the Bruins last year 34-28. That ruined any shot of UCLA, going on to maybe win the Pac-12, maybe being a playoff dark horse. They were kind of in contention, it felt like, at one point that late in the season. The Arizona loss ended that. And it was a shocker. Arizona doing it in the Rose Bowl, coming on the road and winning that game. UCLA certainly going to be out for revenge, but Arizona building themselves up under Jed Fish. They are improving drastically, especially offensively. And so UCLA is going to have to fix that part of their defense to make sure they can stop a guy like Jaden DeLora. They can shut down this Arizona offense that showed a lot of improvement from year one to year two under Jed Fish. Arizona State, new head coach in Kenny Dillingham. I expect the offense to thrive with the Sun Devils, especially by this point in the year. Defense, though, not entirely sure. Also going to be interesting to see how, Dillingham does as a first-year head coach. From a coaching standpoint, UCLA with Chip Kelly certainly owns that edge. At USC, we'll come back to that. California, don't think we have to worry about that. California has been very subpar. Yes, we know UCLA won 35-28 last year, so it was relatively close, but the Golden Bears really haven't posed much of a threat to anybody in the Pac-12 in recent years. UCLA gets to host that game on Senior Day. I think people will feel good about that. The USC game, though, Battle for LA, that's the big one, right? That's a game that could have playoff implications for USC, for UCLA, or both. It is a game that will have Pac-12 title implications, possibly for both. It's a game that last year came down to the wire, USC winning 48-45. High-scoring, close, fun game in Los Angeles, and that was at the Rose Bowl. This year now it'll be at the Coliseum. That's a big one, guys, because you look at UCLA here. I mean, let's say that they win the game they're supposed to win, and let's say they split the game against Utah and Oregon State. And again, we're not predicting anything. We'll have that in about a couple months or so. But let's say UCLA comes into this game against USC as a one-loss team. Not only are they in the hunt for the college football playoff, but they are in the hunt for the Pac-12 championship or Pac-12 championship and playoff. USC could be the same way. Trojans return Caleb Williams. They return a lot of talent from a team that was one win away from making the college football playoff last year. So stakes are going to be extremely high on November 18th. I expect this to probably be the biggest game on UCLA's schedule by far. It's certainly one of the toughest games on their schedule by far. Typically these games, these rivalry games, typically live up to the hype. I expect to see a lot of points just like we saw last year. It's all in LA. USC, yes, gets to have the game at home, but the Bruin faithful will be there as well. It's going to be a fun one on November 18th. And the stakes will be high, not just for Pac-12 purposes, for these teams and maybe for others that are in the hunt, like an Oregon State, guys like that, Washington, but also from a playoff standpoint as well. So UCLA's schedule, guys, it's really honestly pretty favorable. A handful of games that are important, that are big, all unfortunately coming on the road, but if UCLA can manage those, could be in for a special year. The Bruins avoid Oregon. They avoid Washington. That's maybe the top two teams, two of the top three teams in the Pac-12. UCLA avoids them. That's very, very crucial. Could turn out to be a very special year for Chip Kelly. 9 wins last year. Wouldn't be surprised to see them reach that mark again in 2023. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below because again, guys, here at the Gridiron Expert, the college football season never ends. And we want you to take advantage of the nonstop content. We want you to become a part of our GE Nation. Do it by liking, subscribing, hitting that notification button. Become a part of our nation, what we're building here at the channel. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.